Welcome to another episode of the Klyph Notes podcast with your host, DJ Klyph. On this episode, I get an opportunity to chop it up with my guy, Brookfield Duece. The Oakland-based MC's new project, America's Orphans, drops March of 2019. He speaks on the multilayered project and how it took over 2 years to complete, how its potential to start and spark conversations will be huge. He speaks on the new collaboration with Soul Spasm for distribution. He speaks also on collaborations that he's done on the project and the one that almost happened but ultimately had a profound impact on the completed process. He speaks about A&Ring his project and his hopes to continue to A&R for artists in Oakland and Portland, another place that he calls home. So pull up a chair and get ready. Klyph Notes Podcast. Support for the Klyph Notes podcast comes from Acapella Apparel, an idea born from a love of hip-hop, funk, and soul music and its surrounding cultures. With fashion being a huge visual part of the cultures, they've created expressive images to pay homage, invoke nostalgia, and showcase the elements that make up the lifestyle and cultures of these genres. Acapella, apparel for the music lifestyle. For more information, check out acapella.com. That's AKEPELE.com. Yeah, y'all, it's your guy DJ Klyph, man. We back at it again. Another episode of the Klyph Notes podcast, and this one's dope. Been a long time coming. We was just waiting for the right time. Time is right. Stuff is moving forward. So really excited to have this cat to chop it up with me for a couple minutes. Yo, let them know who you are.
Brookfield Duece. What's up?
What's good with you, man?
Just waking up in the morning. Gotta thank God.
Word. Say, bro, man, I'm so happy for you, man, because things are coming to fruition. Stuff that you have been working on for quite some time, is things are lined up. And people say that things happen when they're supposed to, and it feels like that's where we at right now.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I was just talking to my homeboy yesterday. I was telling him how this album got pushed back like 11 times. And the last time it got pushed back, it was supposed to be March 1st, but it got pushed back to March 8th. And between that 7 days, some paperwork, like issues that would have been issues on the 1st, won't be issues on the 8th. So like the pushback was really for the distribution to have the opportunity to present the album to like the priority list for like Apple and Spotify and such, just so we can kind of get a little bit more of a push for like exposure so them to exploit the album a little bit better. And so it was for no other reason than to make sure that I got the most eyes on it as best as I could. So we just pushed it back a week, but that week was really more helpful pushing back than the list, trying to get it exposed. It really helped me on the paperwork level.
Yeah. Chopping on Brookfield Duece. So just to get into it, bro, the album that we're talking about is America's Orphans. It drops on March the 3rd, 2019. And this project, it got pushed back a week, but it's been a long time coming. You've been working on this for a minute.
Yeah. 2.5 years.
That's crazy, bro. That's so crazy. You've released a lot of music though in that time, whether it be features that you've done or stuff that you've put out on your own. The build up to this project. What's one of the things, like if you think about the journey of putting it together, what do you feel like is the biggest thing that impacted the amount of time it took to work on it? Or the amount of time it took to release it, maybe?
I would say making it pretty. Like, I recorded it in like a week. And then, like, after a week was done, we had like 17 songs. And I went home. We was in LA when we recorded it. I went home and from Pac Div, who did all the beats.
Yeah.
He just kept sending me stuff, and as he kept sending me stuff, I kept writing, and 17 songs turned into 23 songs, turned into 27 songs, and I think we ended up getting to about 35 or 40, somewhere around there, on top of the songs that I was already sitting on that he didn't produce. So it was probably close to about 40 to 50 songs that I had in the can for like choosing this particular playlist for the album.
Yeah.
And once I got the songs done, I was like, all right, let's drop it. It's tight, And had I had my way, I would have dropped this October, November of 2017.
Wow. That's crazy,
And
bro.
yeah, and I wasn't even thinking about like the paperwork of it. I'm thinking, you get it done, you send it to the label, and they take care of all that, and the album comes out and they should be able to do this in a couple weeks. And at the time, there were no features. It was just me. I was happy with it being me. We were going to put money behind it, with the label, and boom, it was going to do everything it needs to do.
Right.
And, that's just not how being a signed artist works. So I had to learn that the hard way, because my eagerness to, meet my own 5-year plan when I really got back in to music for sure in like 2012, 2013, I gave myself, a solid 5 years of serious action towards music. And if I didn't reach a level of, notoriety, that I would give it up again. I would quit again. I was telling myself, you got 5 years, and the 5-year mark was around 2017. This is when I did the song. So I was extra hungry, and when I got the music done, I was like, cool, I met my deadline. Let's drop it this year now. Let's drop it, And like once I really started sitting with it over and over again, you kind of get like demo ear and you start falling in love with the demos. But for me, I started hearing more sounds. I started going, well, man, this song might need like live drums, or this song might need a bass player, or this song might need more guitars. So I really started enhancing the beats that were already there, because I was literally just sitting around waiting on the label to do paperwork, or waiting on, like invoices to get paid. So like still needed to get his business taken care of for the beats. We still had to make sure that the beats that he gave me, he hadn't accidentally sent to other artists.
Right.
I had a song that's on my album that Buddy had, and we were going to do it together, and Buddy was going to do the hook and I was going to do the verses, and Buddy wanted it too, but he didn't want it as a song that was going to be like me on the verses and him on the hook. He just wanted it, and he'd already done his parts and I had already done my parts. So it was kind of like a who's going to get it situation.
Yeah.
And then he had just signed. He was previously like around Pharrell, so Pharrell needed his situation, and RCA needed their situation, and Buddy needed his situation for them to release the hook so I could have it. And for them, they didn't need me to sign anything, because they could have just got anybody else, or he could have did his own verses. So it was one of those things where it was like, it was easier for Buddy to have it as opposed for me to have it. And instead of that, we end up taking Buddy off the song. So I end up having the song, and we got Monty Draper to do the hook.
Yeah.
Instead of Buddy to do the hook. So that was like a small detail in like the album process. Like Buddy was on the album originally, and then ended up not working out. But Buddy's still dope. And all of, that's nothing bad about Buddy. It's just how the business goes, and how I almost had Buddy on the album. But the like the idea of doing all of that paperwork was something that I hadn't even thought of, and getting release forms and sample clearances. And so we worked hard on not making sure things were sampled, and, incorporating the live stuff. So we sent the music to Farnell Newton, and, he told us the things that it needed or didn't need. And then we had DJ Samurai. He did all of the guitars. He did keys on it. He did bass on it. He did all the transitions. So when you hear like the songs go from track 1 to track 2, from track 2 to track 3, all of those transitions that sound seamless are all because of DJ Samurai. He did all of those transitions. And then Q Johnson did all of the bass, and DJ Tofree did all the drums. So all of that stuff took time to pull up on everybody and get them to do their parts, and then take all of those parts and get it to the engineer. And then after that, the mixing took a long time because I was getting my album mixed by Mike Denton and Mickey. I forget his last name in terms of pronunciation. Um, I want to say it's Malolis, but if I messed that up, I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, Mike and Mickey, they mixed the album, and they also mixed E40's album, his last album. They actually mixed the last 15 E40 albums, and they've been mixing for 30 years. They mixed Bobby Brown's "Don't Be Cruel."
Wow.
So they were really, really, really busy, and Mickey's on tour with Kylie Buds, and he mixed. They all mixed the fantastic Negrito albums that have won Grammys the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So they've been mixing a bunch of music, and it just took time for them to get around to mixing mines because E40 was getting mixed, then Negrito was getting mixed, then Kylie Buds was getting mixed, and just all of the large Bay Area people that are doing music usually go in and out of that studio. So I kind of had to wait my turn before I was able to get, my chance to get my album mixed and mastered. So that took, a number of months to get it done. And, that kind of stuff just ended up being like, all right, well, we're not going to put it out in October of 2017 or November of 2017. We're going to put it out, in March or April of 18, or we're going to put it out my birthday in June, or we're going to put it out in September of June. And then Damien was like, well, I'm not dropping an album in 2018. I want to sit on the albums that we got and focus on making sure you guys get on. And so September turned into November, and turned into December, turned into January, and then I finally signed distribution. So we were able to like set a date for like February 24th. And by the time all the paperwork got finalized, it was too close for them to get everything done. So we pushed it to March 1st. And then I missed my deadline with turning in some masters. So we pushed it back again to March 8th. So now we at March 8th. But 2019.
Wow. That's crazy, bro. Yeah. That's crazy. That's a crazy journey. So you kind of touched on it, but obviously going through this process, you've learned even more about the industry than you knew from jump. And does it change how you look at the 5-year plan? I mean, I think that as we go through life, whether it's regardless of what we're doing, I mean, you want to set goals and you're shooting for those goals. But now that you've been through this process with this full length album, does it change sort of the trajectory of your career for you, or is that a matter of come on, let's wait until the album drops and sort of see how people mess with it?
Not really. I think that because I was done, that I met my goal for my 5-year plan situation. I just didn't have any idea about the business side of it, and I could have easily, just said, I don't care about all the other stuff, and I could have dropped it on my own through like TuneCore or DistroKid or SoundCloud or Bandcamp or whatever. And I don't think that the music would have been as good as it is now. It would have suffered a lot, and I would have been trying to work on something else because it wouldn't have been promoted. It wouldn't have been like extra talked about, and for the most part, a lot of the stuff is me kind of doing it solo, like without a major push, so like even the idea of waiting to get a push isn't what I waited for. I waited to make sure that the music was the best that it could be. And because it's the best that it can be, it's given me the fuel to push it better and harder than I ever pushed something, to get into people's faces and, realize that, like one person can make a large difference in getting people to like pay attention to who you are and what you're about. I think once that stuff kind of builds a fire, I think everybody else will jump in going, yeah, I see what you've been doing and I appreciate it. And, I'm ready to like get on board and help you wherever I can, what you need me to do kind of thing. Yeah. I think I think that the idea of if you build it, they'll come is false. You have to like really push it hard, and get in people's faces and let them know this is what I got going on, and I think I've done that. So like the idea of regretting missing, like the plan going a year and a half, 2 years longer than what it was originally doesn't necessarily bother me, because I know when it drops, it'll last longer than if I would have dropped it immediately in 2017. It just makes more sense in terms of what it's worth now. It's worth a lot more.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I know when I feel really blessed to have been privy to a lot of the process. I mean, I can remember hearing early versions of some of the songs that are on the album, and now to have heard the completed project is crazy dope, bro. And I
yeah,
hear so much of conversations that you and I have had with other people, and how that has manifested itself in this project, which is dope. And I know that I've said, sometimes you say stuff and people think that you being dramatic or whatever, but I
yeah,
know that I've said like this album literally has the potential to change lives. I mean, you've released a ton of material up to date, but with
yeah.
this project, man, I mean, you're touching on content that will make us at least stand up and think, or at least have deeper conversations about the world that we live in, the places in which we live in, the way that we interact with one another. Um, is that something that you hope to grow into more conversations,
I think
more
so.
more one-on-one conversations with people?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the idea of mass conversation has us in a place of supreme ignorance. I think that we need to get a little bit more personal with the persons that are next to us, even if it ends up with me being mad at you or you being mad at me for a minute. At least we kind of got the truth outside. You know what I mean? But like the idea of being able to hide behind, like a IG handle or a Twitter handle and say things that you would normally say to someone's face, that kind of stuff needs to die. Like the idea of feeling a way about something is fine because you feel something. You know what I mean? So just being able to talk about those things, whether they hurt or they feel good or whatever, is just something that needs to like take place more. So like I want to make sure that with the music, I struck, you know, hard enough chords where it got people to like say, you know what, that song was really interesting, but I wanted to make them. I wanted to include a lot of duality into the music. I wanted to give you a song with a beat that doesn't necessarily scream hip hop head, but I wanted to give you content inside of those sounds that gave you hip hop head. So that way the people who aren't really going for the lyrics will still listen to it and go, "Hey, but this sounds good." You know what I mean? And the people who are going for the lyrics say, "But did you listen to what he said?"
Right,
you
right.
know and then that way both sides can have a conversation. I don't lose one side or the other. And on top of that, in creating the visuals for the music, I wanted to make sure that the music also had a level of duality. I wanted to do visuals that if the song was lighthearted, that the visual was really heavy and maybe hard to watch, and if the song was heavy, that the video was lighthearted and easy to watch. That way, I can get you again, with the idea of the beat being maybe hip hop head, but the lyrics being lighthearted and the video being heavy. You know,
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
just keep, like same way you go to the gym and they talk about muscle confusion. If you keep doing the same exercise, same time, the same way over and over again, you're not actually working your muscles out. You have to like confuse them to get them to feel something different and continue to be sore so your muscles can continue to like be hurting and lifting weights while you're not even lifting weights.
yeah.
So I wanted to do that with the music. I wanted to make sure that the music was muscle confusion, you know, and the visuals was muscle confusion.
That the title of the project is America's Orphans.
Correct.
That's interesting, bro. Why'd you pick that title?
I didn't actually title it. I titled it Orphans alone, just Orphans. and that was in 2012 where I titled the album. And I kept making music. Me and my boy Ryan Watts, we kept making music along with uh, Joe Weston, all three of us with Dominant Genetics. This was a while ago, which turned into Green Chair Music. And people in Portland have heard Green Chair Music before, so that's not like a rare situation. But we've done, a ton of music under the idea that the album was going to be called Orphans in 2012, 2013, 2014. And I spent a lot of time listening to other people go, man, you need a song like this. You should do a song like this. Or how come you don't have nothing for the club? Or how come you don't have nothing for the Bay Area people? Or how come you don't have nothing, So then the album started being a quilt. It started being, like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, which ended up being like a strong suit in my style, being able to, switch rooms and do a little bit of everything. But in the idea of an album, the albums were never landing as a cohesive body of work, because it was always like, oh, the songs were good until you got to that one point, and then that wasn't my mood, and then you got to this point, and then that wasn't my mood. So it was like you kind of got me into a room, and then you took me out of the room and put me in another room. And as an album, I just go back and listen to a couple of these songs, but I'm not telling anybody this album is incredible. It's just a good collection of songs, and I wanted to get away from that, and the the title just went from, Orphans. And as I kept meeting people and talking about this album I wanted to do, I met this DJ named DJ Supernova. Me and my manager, Derek Hardy, were together, and we were in LA, and we met DJ Supernova, and he was like, well, you should call it American Orphan, because he had been going back and forth to South Africa doing DJ work, and he was telling us how South Africa is ready for, rap music, and they're ready for hip hop, and they really mess with us, and we just don't know. We got to get down there. So we were like, man, we got to go. And he was like, if you call it American Orphans, you'll get people across the world that'll take interest to the idea of you saying you're an orphan in America. So I was like, that's interesting. So we kind of held on to that title for a few months, and then me, Ryan Watts, my girl Tiff, we all were at the house just talking, and she was like, well, maybe you should call it America's Orphans, because that puts a possession on the orphans, and then it makes it about everybody in America in terms of Black people, and not even just Black people, which is what I want to make sure people understand about the album, that it's not about Black people in general. Like, if it's about cultural parenting, being an American orphan it's rooted in being, a Black person in America from a European father and an African mother. But the branches of that reach out to all races. So like, if you are gay and this is you're the first one in your family that's gay and that's coming out saying you're gay, then that means that your parents have no clue on how to parent this particular situation. And you have no one to go to in terms of guidance. You don't have a parent or mom or dad that you can go to and say, this is what I'm facing, and they're able to parent you the correct way. They don't actually know either. So all you guys are learning together. It makes you an orphan culturally in terms of your culture being homosexual. And if you are, a woman in a male-driven workplace, like say you're a sports agent and it's predominantly controlled by men, or if you're a sports caster, like you talk, like you're a color commentator, and it's driven by predominantly men, then you have to learn how to navigate those things. But your mom and dad didn't do that for a living. They didn't grow up doing that, which means you're essentially a cultural orphan in the culture of your business being, in the business of male sports, and those things just stretched across, all of the timelines, and that's what made the album being called America's Orphans make a lot more sense than calling it American Orphan or calling it just Orphans in general, because there are literal orphans that are out there that I didn't want to offend, by just calling it Orphans. So calling it America's Orphans made it where we were, without even having to describe it, this album is about something social and political without actually having to explain it to you. You know that this might be some heavy content.
Well, shoot, bro. Even the artwork says that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who did you do that? Did you come up with the artwork?
So me and Ryan Watts came up with the artwork. The artwork has evolved with the help of Alex Wright in Portland, Caso De Niro. Um, the the art originally was a picture um, of Ted Landsmark being stabbed or attempted to being stabbed by a white man in Boston. And every time I tell people about this person, I tell them to go look up Ted Landsmark. He is like a real important person for like black architecture. And he was just going to a meeting in Boston about architecture. And he's still doing it now. He's like a president of like Northeastern University or something. He's like a big deal. And he he was just going to a meeting and he couldn't find a park that was close enough to the building, so he parked far away and he walked to the building. But in walking to the building, he ended up stumbling in the middle of a rally that was against the desegregation of busing kids to and from school. At the time, Boston was getting ready to integrate blacks and whites in the same schools and put them on the same buses and transportation methods. And the white people in Boston were not having it. They were protesting and, marching and doing rallies saying that this isn't the way America was supposed to be created, and blacks don't have their business on the same buses. Our children shouldn't be on the same buses together and going to the same schools. This is not good for us, and they were going like downtown to march and City Hall to march. And his meeting just so happened to be over there. And he was like the first black guy they seen. So they grabbed him up and they had him all beat up and they were holding him up. And another guy was taking a flag and he was attempting to stab him with the flag. So the original picture was just him being held up. And I was going to take him out of the picture and place me in the picture and have the guy stabbing me in the picture. And then that idea stood for a while. And then when we talked to Alexander Wright about it, we decided to take multiple ideas of, important black history involving the riots and protests and combine them all into one picture. So now it's like the Ferguson riot. There's a kid, he's like sitting on the ground. We put him there instead of putting Ted Landsmark there. And then the riots in Baltimore, where all the police are just standing there waiting for the people to like throw rocks and bottles and such at the police. They're just standing there. So now the picture as the artwork is presented now looks like there's a white guy still attempting to stab a kid because they're killing kids at a high rate now. So he's attempting to stab the kid and the police are just letting it happen on the picture. They're just watching it. And I think that we are still in the works of trying to create more of these triple or quadruple, like multi-image pictures where we combine multiple pictures into one. And I'm not sure if we're gonna do it in art form, like just sell the art as a picture, or if we're gonna just do it and post it up. But I do plan on doing more of these blends or collages, so to speak, where the art looks like one picture, but it's really, multiple different pictures that look like one picture and that all tell a story. So I felt like this told a better story than just posting Ted Landsmark on the artwork.
Wow, dude, that's crazy, and that's one of the things that's kind of what I was talking about. This project has the potential to create all these conversations because it's so multi-layered, just like
Yeah.
this photo is. We live in a time right now where art like this, I think, it is so timely. People who listen to everything I do always hear me talk about being a old head and coming up in a time where and even prior to me really having any impact at all, music as an art form was used as a combination of art, but then also education and also a platform to be outspoken against injustice. And I think that especially in this genre of hip hop, mainstream. We'd gotten away from that, and I feel like we're in a place right now where we as a culture are more receptive to supporting artists who are using their platform for things like you just described. And I'm
Yeah.
really excited to see your movement and the impact that it has and the conversations that come out of this. And I feel like with where we're going as a nation right now, we need more of this, man. So I say all that just to say, big ups to you for making the choice to go this route with what you're doing, because I feel like this is the type of art that will stand the test of time because there is so much to it, so much behind it. Chopping it up with my guy Brookfield Duece, man, on the Klyph Notes podcast. I'm gonna take a second real quick to give a shout out to our folk over at Acapella Apparel. Acapella has been rocking with the Klyph Notes podcast and supporting us for quite some time, man. So if you're looking for some fresh gear, man, a local Portland company that is really all about music culture, you can check out their website, acapella.com. That's AKEPELE.com. So check them out. Let them know that DJ Klyph and the Klyph Notes podcast sent you their way. In terms of the project, B, you got a couple songs on here, man. Like you ain't do no EP on this one, bruh.
No, it's 15 tracks. And it was the toughest 15 that I had to choose, and I actually couldn't choose 15 because it started off saying, like, my manager Derek was like, we should just do 10, and I was like, all right, we'll do 10, and then I went to the studio. This was before we even started recording. I just was telling him I got an idea, and I was like, all right, well, we'll do 10. We'll make it solid, yada, yada, yada. We'll put it out. I was like, all right, cool. I go to the studio. I come back, and he like, we ride together, and he's like, all right, I'm going to leave and go get something to eat. I'll come back. 4 hours later, he comes back, and we got like 5 songs done. And he's like, what? And Like is like, he's a machine. Like, like, we're getting it done.
Yeah.
We're going to stop in a minute to get something to eat, but, we're going to keep going,
Yeah.
And so we get back the next day, and the next day, like, we're up to like 12. He's like, 12? So he's like, let me hear this. You know what I mean? Maybe these are all like rough drafts or one verse. And he's like, no, these are like 2 and 3 verse songs.
Yeah.
And hooks are there. And, he's like, wow, like, all right, we'll keep going, So the next day we come back, and he's like, man, we got like 17. And then he still like put like 3 or 4 beats to the side, and he's still writing to those. And he's like, all right, well, I think we got something,
Yeah.
So we're listening to it, and these are all like rough drafts that I'm sending you, and he's like, no, I think we got a project, and we just got to pick 10 from this. And I was like, 10? I'm still writing, not 10, So like, I would say, like, as the time went on, I just kept convincing him, like, man, maybe we should do like 12. He's like, all right, well, let's see what 12 looks like, And I'm like, well, I can really use like 13. So we were going to go 13 for a while because, like, the 13 documentary dropped, and the 13th Amendment.
Yeah.
And, and then we were like, well, the 13th Amendment was one thing, but then the 14th Amendment was really influential too, because it was the one that turned the people into like a level of, like, with 13th turning them to a level of criminal, and like creating what is modern day slavery with the, like, the jail system. 14th had a lot to do with that too. So we were like, well, we can go 14 too, but we really were stuck on 13 being like an unlucky number.
Yeah.
And being the 13th Amendment, and like all of these things were like tied in together, and it all made sense to me to give another layer to the project, and when we got to the 13 songs, there was one song that I just really wanted on there, and I was like, okay, well, forget the 13, we got to put 14 on there, And then I had took those 14, and the 14 was really 16 because there was 2 songs that were not really halfway done, but one song on there called Field of Dreams, I was supposed to get Isaiah Rashad on it, and we were talking to him, and it just didn't work out for whatever reason. So that song, I didn't hear anybody else on it, and I didn't want to touch it because I felt like it was good as it was, and if he would have touched it, it would have made it better, but I didn't want to add anything else to it because I had already set my mind on Isaiah Rashad being on the song.
Right.
So I ended up combining both of those songs together and creating one long song. So Field of Dreams ended up being two songs because I was going to get two verses. I was going to get a verse from Isaiah Rashad for one song, and I was going to get a hook from Isaiah Rashad for another song.
Yeah.
So that would have gave me, two separate songs with him on it because I really just wanted him and Tish Hyman on the album to begin with. I wanted someone to singing, and I wanted someone rapping, and I wanted the rest to be no features,
Yeah.
And those were like the top of my list. So I was like, all right, cool, we'll do that, and that ended up not working out. I still ended up getting Tish Hyman on the album, which was a dream for me, but I didn't get Isaiah Rashad on the album, so I combined the songs. It actually helped me create a better song without him being on it because I was able to get more artsy with the song. So I did that twice on the album. I combined songs into one song twice. I've done that on every project. I've always combined, one or two or three songs into one song. And so what really was 16 was really 14. And then I heard a beat from Kelly Portis. He's from the Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me feel like this is what the next album should kind of sound like.
Okay.
So I wrote the song being about the concept for the next song, the next album. I've been kind of going back and forth between deciding to go in order or if I want to go in the order that I want, or if I just want to eggshell an album that won't come out next. And I think that that's where I'm at. Like the last song on the project is called Navigate. It is produced by Kelly Portis, and it talks about me finding my way to just like, mental freedom, and not being enslaved by the things that we believe in or that we were taught that we think is the right things, that we've grown up in society that's incorrect, and we just don't have enough people speaking out to shift the thought process of the people who are, old dog, and new tricks proverb situation. Like they won't change because there's not enough people forcing the change. Everyone believes what they believe because no one will combat it,
Yeah.
People like Kanye are like alone in the combat of what we think is the right things, but it could be, wrong in a grand scheme of things. But I kind of lost what I was saying. You
were just talking about how where you wanted to go with this song, if you were the order that you were going to be releasing material.
So with the 14, it turned into 15, and so it was really 17 that turned into 15 songs. And as I kept sending him the songs, he was like, "Man, this is dope. Man, this is dope." So he couldn't really say no
to
the idea of wanting 10 songs. But every time we got to 11 or 12 or 13 or 14, and then so I really sent him 17 tracks, and I was like, I need all of these on here.
Yeah.
So he was like, "Man, that's a lot." So I had to figure out a way to trick him into saying 15 is good by taking two of the songs and combining them into another song, and telling him that the 15th song wasn't really a song on the album, but the 15th song is actually the intro to another album.
It's crazy. That's crazy,
so
bro.
The last song is really the intro to an album I've already started writing to called Coordinates.
Okay.
So it's about like America's Orphans being America's Orphans, and then Coordinates being the solutions. Like after talking to all of these people about what happened in Orphans, and after talking to people about what happens in another project that I want to do called Bastard. So America's Orphans is just about all of us. And then Bastard is personal to me, not having a dad in my life. And then Coordinates is like the way out of it.
Wow.
And the last song on America's Orphans is the intro to Coordinates.
Okay.
But I think Bastard will come before Coordinates.
Okay.
So Coordinates might be one of those things that ends up being Orphans in a way that I wanted to do Orphans in 2012 and it didn't come to 2019.
Right.
Coordinates might be one of those things that just lingers for years and years and years before I get around to it, because I still have a lot of the world to see and a lot of growing to do, and I still have to gather the information from the world being my A&R
before
I can actually fully record my treasure map to mental freedom. You know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't got there yet personally, so I can't create the music yet.
Well, and the crazy thing is that if you really think about it, that will be an ever evolving story, because, like you
Exactly.
said, as you grow, as you have more connections, as you have more experiences, the idea of coming up with a solution should grow. I mean, to be honest, it should grow.
Yeah.
It should change, because your understanding of being a human being on this planet changes with the more
Yeah.
experiences that you have. So I think that's crazy dope.
Yeah.
So you said this album has been a long time coming, bro. You had an idea of how to release it, and we know that you've shown that you're able to release stuff on your own. I mean, you did it with One Day It'll All Make Sense. You did
Yeah.
it with the mixtape. Um, I mean, you've done it before, but you've had an opportunity now to partner with to partner with the distributor, and maybe open avenues that not avenues that you didn't necessarily have access to, but maybe in a different format. So you partner with Soul Spasm on this joint,
Correct. Yeah.
and we're already starting to see, um, you know, the way the album is showing up for pre-sale. Uh, what's that experience been like so far?
It's been good. I can't I can't find anything negative to say about the experience that I've had so far signing with a distributor. I I actually had three distribution companies sit down and kind of offer me a situation, and um, I kind of took the Damian Lillard approach of how he picked his colleges in terms of how I picked my distribution company. There were a couple other companies that I won't name. I don't have any issue with them. I actually tend to work with one or two of them in the future, depending on the style of music that I'm presenting.
Mm-hmm.
But um, after being offered by Soul Spasm, they were really, really, really straightforward and simple in what they could do. They were like, "This is what we do. This is what we don't do. This is how much we get out of the cut. This is how much you get out of it. This is when we send the checks. You could talk to so and so. He was with us. He'll vouch for me. You could talk to him too. He'll vouch for me.
Yeah,
And they were like, send me the music, and if I don't like it, I'll call you back and tell you this ain't gonna work. We don't like it.
yeah.
And if we do like it, we'll call you back and say, we like it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I talked to J57. Took him a couple of days to call me back, and he was like, "Man, this is incredible. You got to meet Jim." So he sent me to Jim Drew, which is the CEO of Soul Spasm, and he was telling Jim Drew, like, "I know you don't sign solo acts. I know you just mostly sign labels for label deals, but you need to listen to this project." And he listened to it, and he called me back a week later, and he was like, "Wow, like, we got to do something." And at the time, like I said, I was still shopping around. So I was like, well, give me some time to figure it all out. I talked to my manager, and he was like, well, I'm still working on some stuff too, so give me some time. So that was another fork in the road in terms of how long it took to get the album out, because that was like October, November of 2018 when I knew I had a couple of deals or offers on the table. And, we went to Thanksgiving, then we went to Christmas, and then we went to New Year's, and then the labels were gone, and then they came back from the holiday, and then it was like the end of January. So my original desired date was MLK week. So it would have been like January 18th, 15th, somewhere around there. And then I just kept pushing back. Everything just kept getting pushed back. But when it was time for me to choose, because I got fed up. I was like, I got to put this out. I have 3 offers, and I have 1 deal in my email on the table. And February 1st, I decided I was going to sign with Soul Spasm. So February 1st, I signed. I texted you the same morning, like, I signed. I can't do this no more. I signed. So I called.
Yeah.
So I called Jim Drew, and I let him know, like, I appreciate you guys offering me first. I appreciate you guys taking interest to what I wanted to do. You guys love the music for the music, and not because you dug deep into who I am and how big my following is on Instagram and the things that the other labels were doing. They were like, well, let's see what your social media outreach looks like, and just all of these things, because we were talking about getting a level of advance. And I chose to do this deal with no advance. I wanted to make sure that we all were in it for the music and not for like the commercialism of it, you know? And since then we've been talking almost every day. I send ideas, they send back ideas. They've helped me do things on the back end with the business, with my YouTube channel and other things where they've helped me in ways that I haven't been helped before, being signed or unsigned, you know? And I just thought that that was really dope. And I thank them all the time for just taking an interest to the music and the interest to me as an artist, you know? And I think it's been working out really smooth.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Another thing that came of this is you're also a part of the 5-7 collective now, which is
Right.
which is dope, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to J57. That's a good dude, and the things that he's doing, I think, with the collective are pretty amazing when you look at the roster of artists that are a part of that collective. You have been you've consistently connected yourself and connected your brand with brands like that here in the city. Running with Rare Vibe. Shout out to Dre Slaps and everybody over at Rare Vibe. You know, it's got to feel good to be in a place now where you have the potential to do what you've always done, which is to create opportunities for other people, not just for yourself.
Right.
And I think we talked about it on the last time we did an episode of the podcast. Is that, I mean, that's sort of your vision for the future, is to be able to A&R for other artists aside from you know, pushing your own career.
Yeah, definitely. I have actually already started that process. I mean, I A&R Samuel the First's album.
Shout out to Samuel the First. That self project is dope.
Yeah, I A&R'd that project, and we worked on the like art direction, and we worked on like the visuals. I directed the bullet video, and me and Dre are the only features on the album, you know. And I think it's really, really dope to be able to, you know, like help put your vision on, you know, someone else's, you know, art, and understand who they are, so they don't feel like alone in their quest to like explain their story to their people. Like being able to help someone do that is, you know, really good for me. Like I feel like I need that, you know. I feel like I need to be able to help facilitate the expansion of someone's brand based on what I see as a fan, you know, like as a fan of them. You know, it's been plenty of times where I've had like music and they think that they don't actually need to say anything to me because they're like, oh, your music's fine, you don't need help. You know what I mean? And I'll text the group chat, you know, and I'll ask like Nick and Sam and Dre and Capes. I'll just be like, do y'all have any ideas for this beat? Because I just have no clue, you know? Which is how the Swervin' song was created. Okay. I had a beat from like, and I thought it was really dope, and I just could not figure out a major topic, you know, and I sent it to the group chat, and I was like, whoever writes something to this is on the album. They're getting on the album, you know, they're gonna help me with the album if they can write something to this. Yeah. And Samuel the First sent me back a rough draft of like 4 bars, you know, and it was essentially the first half of the hook for Swervin'. Sam wrote the first half of the hook for Swervin'. And then the second half of the hook was inspired by the first half. So I was able to continue writing the hook based on the first half of the hook. So I was like, man, that was dope that he was able to lend his pen to my art. And I feel like it was dope of me to be able to accept that, because most rappers would never tell you someone else wrote their hook for them, or someone else wrote for them, because then they're less of a rapper. I don't actually believe in that. I think it's a business. I think that if someone around you in your camp, in your circle, in your, you know, clique or whatever you want to call it, can help you with making a song better, then you should absolutely do that, you know. And at first I was on that wave of no one can help you write, but I watched an interview and KRS-One was like, if Rakim offered me music, I'd take it. It's KRS, you know, it's Rakim.
Right.
I'm still KRS-One.
Right.
but that's still the God Rakim. So
Right.
I'm taking that, you know what I mean? So I don't look at that as a bad situation. So after that, I was like, you're right. You're right, Chris. You know what I mean? So since then, I've just been moving under the idea of, in terms of creating music and making it good, nothing's off limits. You can make this happen. You know what I mean? So in doing that, I knew like that's what kind of got me to the point of adding to my bucket list of artists I wanted to work with, because me and Sam both are big fans of Freddie Gibbs, and that's like his favorite rapper of all time. So I
Yeah.
was like, it's got to be a way I can make something like this happen, And I had Sam reach out to one of his homies that was also homies with Freddie Gibbs, and I was able to, like, 3 or 4 degrees of separation, reach Freddie Gibbs to get the feature for Swervin'. And I essentially worked on making sure that Sam did a song with Freddie Gibbs
Right.
accidentally.
Right. Right.
So now, even though his voice isn't on there, in the credits, when you look at the royalty checks and the ASCAP credits and all of that, his name is right there next to Freddie Gibbs. It's like he can say, like, I wrote a song with Freddie Gibbs,
Yeah.
like my favorite rapper. I did a song with my favorite rapper,
Yeah.
And I thought that would be like a dope gift for me to be able to give to Sam for just helping me with the music. You know what I mean? Just helping me with the song in general would be like dope to just get Freddie Gibbs on it,
Yeah. Yeah.
And in doing that, I was able to kind of teach him a little bit more about splits and royalty percentages and things that I've already known and learned more about, and the paperwork behind it all. I was able to use that as a teaching moment to, like, help Sam get further in his, the music business side of his career. So I thought that that's what Swerving Song was really important for the album. And I thought that it was really important for Sam's career,
Yeah.
but like I've been doing, this A&R work for a while. It's just, I haven't cracked a level of notoriety for it yet, but I think that the Self album is one that is going to reach a number of people where they listen to it and go, this is Sam's best work, and it's not even close. And that the videos behind it are his best work, and it's not even close, and that would be something that can turn into a tour, that can turn into more interviews for him. And when all of that's, said and done, they can say that this album was attributed to the work that was put in by Sam and Dre Slabs and Brookfield Duece. They did all that together, and they're capable of doing it again. So now that this is accomplished, I've essentially A&R'd and executive produced my own project. So this will be like number 2 that I put my hands on in terms of getting all the instruments and picking the track list and picking features and getting all of that done. So I'm interested to see what other artists will allow me to be an artist in their art to help get it done, But I definitely think that process has already started, and I'm just waiting and excited to do more of it,
That's what's up, man. Chopping up with my guy Brookfield Duece. The new project, America's Orphans, drops March the 3rd.
March 8th.
March 8th. March 8th. Today is March the 3rd.
Today's March 3rd.
It drops on the 8th. One of the things that you have consistently done, and one of the things that you invite people to do, is to interact with you in real time. And I think you do a great job via the tools at your disposal, social media, this, that, and the third, and even more opportunities to do that when the album drops. I know that you have plans on getting out and doing more sit down interviews and getting on the road. If people want to be involved in that, if people want to interact with you, let you know how they feel about the project, questions that they have about, concepts, this, that, and the third. I mean, you really broke down a lot of some of those things right now. What's the easiest way for people to reach you?
They can hit me on Twitter. They can hit me on Instagram. I'm not really on Facebook as much, but they can definitely, hit me on Instagram. They can DM me. They can comment on a post. I'll reply. I feel like I'm really good at replying as fast as possible. Like, I'll see a alert on my phone, I'll just jump to it. I could be in the middle of something, I'll jump to it and I'll reply. If you got a question about something, I won't tell you I don't have information on it. If I do, I'll just give you the information that I have. I've actually told plenty of people about apps that I use to record on my phone, like to do voice memos, or what I'm using to, like, edit, like my artwork or something. Like, I'm I'm a vault of information with no keys. Like, you can have whatever I have, you can have it. I'm not really worried about the idea of sharing, information. I think that that's lame. I think that the information is created to be given out to people, and the value in that is when people do what they need to do. They go, if it wasn't for Duece telling me these things, I wouldn't have been able to get that. I think that that's more valuable than me getting a dollar amount for the information. I think that the dollar amount is the richness and like the credit that you get for being a important piece of the puzzle in a scene, a music scene, or in an industry that is growing still. I want to make sure that that is what I put my value in, because that's what I'll have to hold on to when it's time for me to transition from artist to executive.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. One of the things that you've done recently is that you shared some historical pieces, man. Whether it be photos, videos of the piece that they did on front page with you and Dane, Dame and Danny from Sobrani, clips of you on Sway. Man, it's once again, man, it's just so cool to see the journey that you've taken thus far, where it's gotten you with this new project. In terms of getting out and people having a chance to see you in other places, you have anything lined up that that people should be on the lookout for in terms of supporting the project?
I'm doing a listening session on Wednesday the 6th in Oakland.
Okay.
I am creating a listening session / release party situation in Portland. I just have to put it together right now. I'm also trying to put one together for LA as well. Both of the other ones, Portland and LA, will be after the album is released. I wanted to make sure that I did all that stuff beyond, even the idea that we talked about with, talking to people about the music in general and the album in general. I wanted to do before, and then I thought about it, and I said it makes more sense to have these conversations after. That way, when they listen to it, they can just go right to the music.
Yeah.
As opposed to them listening to it and then waiting for music. I want them to be able to go to the album and listen to the things that we are possibly talking about, and just about like the historical pieces, like the Sway video and all of that, like the the idea of being on there to me isn't as valuable as I thought it was when I was a kid. When I was younger, and I was like, man, you got to get on Sway, you got to get on Breakfast Club, you got to get on Ebro, you got to do all of these different things. And I really wanted to make sure that I said this on this podcast so people who watch it can really understand how you're more powerful than you think you are. And like when you really go there and you really think about the artists that are there, they either have a level of backing financially from a major label that is trying to push them down your throat, or they are already somebody. They're already somebody, and the publication isn't validating the artist. The artist is in fact validating the publication. And when I thought about it that way, it told me that I didn't need to go there. I didn't need to stress myself out about getting to those kind of places in those rooms when I literally have that many people in my own network already. And just to give people numbers, just because people don't actually believe you until you give them a level of numbers. The video that me, Danny, and Dame were on at Sway, the video got 650,000 views. But when it got time to showing myself and Danny rap, Sway's Universe or Sirius or Shade 45 or whoever was involved in the decision making, I don't know and don't care, decided to take off the rap part for me and Danny. So all you see is the Damien interview and Damien rap, and then the video goes off. That video got 650,000 views, but we're on the desk watching it all take place. We're being talked to, kind of, but you can tell we're just the lower level employees on the situation based on the video. They have a separate video that was released around the same time, a couple days later, That video actually shows myself and Danny from Sobriety rapping. But that video only has 19,000 views, not 650,000 views. So when you think about the rule of 10%, with 10% of the people who actually click on the video, watch it all the way through, that 19,000 people cuts down to 1,900 people. Taking that 1,900 people that actually watch the video all the way through and see me and Danny from Sobriety rap, 10% of those people actually went to Danny from Sobriety page to see what he was about. Went to my page to see what I was about. Went to Damien's page to see what he was about. But to just use me and Danny as the examples for these numbers, they didn't go to both of us because people don't have that much attention span. They had to choose which one they liked the most. If they liked Danny's rap the most, they went to Danny's page. If they liked my rap the most, they went to my page. So that 190 people is now cut in half. So I got, what is that, 85? No, 90? Somewhere around there. It's early. My math is off.
92.5.
Yeah. So those people are the people that went to my page. 10% of those people actually decided to maybe follow me. So that's 9 people. Out of those 9 people, 10% of those people actually went to go look for a song and buy one or listen to an album, like became a true fan.
Right.
So less than one person became a true fan of me from that video. One person has seen me 2 years ago on that Sway video and decided that they like me enough to become a real fan.
Yeah.
They've continued to stick around and support my music because they see me on Sway. One person.
It's crazy.
From a video of 650,000 people, because they didn't actually post that with us and they hosted the one with 19,000 people. One person came from that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The idea of someone following you as DJ Klyph in Portland, and you post your Klyph Notes and you get your numbers for the people that listen to your podcast, you would get me more than one person that will become more than one person will become a true fan of me off of this podcast, more than me being on Sway in the Morning. And when you think about the work that you have to do to get to Sway in the Morning versus the work that you have to do to get to DJ Klyph, it makes way more sense to focus your attention on DJ Klyph.
Yeah. Just access.
And not on Sway in the Morning. And it's no disrespect to Sway. Sway from Oakland, he the homie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All of that. But the idea of needing a major publication like that, needing a Fader or a Double XL or, all of these places that you look up to and you go, man, I got to get on there. Like, you don't actually need to get on there. Like, you're powerful as an artist without it. And I think that they know that you guys are powerful without it. They know that we're powerful without it. But as long as they continue to promote the idea that you need us, we'll continue to stay local. We'll continue to be segregated and oppressed by the people who should be applauding art. They should be, championing the art that we're putting out. But instead they're using it as, like, they're using your hunger as a tool to keep you oppressed as an artist. And then you end up telling yourself, I'm never going to make it out of Portland. I'm never going to make it out of Oakland. I'm never going to make it out of Cleveland or wherever you are. You know what I mean? Like, those things are the things that keep you down in your mind, where you're at that point oppressing yourself, where you tell yourself, I ain't good enough, or I don't got enough money, or I don't have enough influence to get on, Sway in the Morning. I'll never make it there, and you find yourself adding Sway, like, listen to this, sending them links and stuff that they don't actually listen to because they're not actually running the page. It's all corporatized, so, like, figuring out how to reach those people, a level of micro influencer, like being able to reach those people as opposed to the influencers that people pay hundreds of dollars to do things for them for. If you just do it organically and if you just work hard enough, the people that you can reach, if you were able to reach 5 people, from each person, I truly believe that you can reach 5 people. I can reach 5 people from this podcast. If I did enough conversations with enough people, I could reach, 1 to 5 people from each person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I did that 200 times, I could sell 1,000 copies the first week. And contrary to what people believe, that albums aren't selling physically. They said an artist, I can't remember his name right now, but I think it's A Boogie. A Boogie charted, really high, and all he sold was like 800 copies physical. But maybe I'm overshooting it. Maybe it's like in under 100. You know what I mean? Like maybe I'm overshooting. I can't remember. I think it's 800, somewhere around 800. But it could be like 80, literally. But the streams that he got, because it was commercially pushed, got him to a level of charting. So if you were to sell 1,000 copies your first week, you'd absolutely chart. They'd be like, well, who is this guy? And how is he doing it? And how did he get to the level of selling this many copies to the point of us having to take notice on Billboard and all these other publications that respect the numbers, And I think that is, it's not easily accomplishable, but it's possible in a sense that the people that say they support you actually do. The family members that say they support you, but they haven't pre-ordered the album for whatever reason. They think that they have time, which is something that I've been working on myself. Like when you're close to the star, you get blinded.
Mm-hmm.
You don't actually see the beauty in the star until you're light years away, and you can look at the star from millions of miles away and go, man, that's a beautiful star. I can see it. You got to separate yourself a little bit for people to see your star, and when you're really close, people think that they have time. People think that they're right there. I don't have to, pre-order your album. I don't have to post the music because you're right there. But someone like Jay-Z is so far away, you can appreciate that star. So when his song dropped, you get on Instagram and you drive in the car and you play it and you're listening to it and you're doing your Instagram story thing with it because you can see the beauty in the star from far away. He's not reachable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? He's not reachable. So you being reachable makes it where the people who are around you that say they support you are a level of spoiled. They accidentally end up not supporting you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not on purpose. They love you. They think that their level of support doesn't have an expiration date. Meanwhile, you're trying to get your album out and get it heard, and no one's talking about it. And the people that you think should talk about it are actually saying nothing publicly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they think that things happen the way they happen. So like I said, this back to my statement of if you build it, they won't come. You have to push it in their face. You have to demand things happen because otherwise it'll just, fall by the wayside. So
no, I mean, and there's a ton of truth to that. So one of the interesting things that came out was when People Under the Stairs released their final album, they talked a lot about that. They talked a lot about the value and importance of people pre-ordering that project. And they showed how when people got behind it and pre-ordered it, it did so much to help them in terms of placement, in terms of charting when it dropped. So
right.
As we're talking right now, bro, I don't know if you could tell I was typing. I just jumped on and I just clicked my pre-order. So louder than words,
okay.
Cat. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate it.
So everybody out there, that's what I need y'all to do. Go out there, pre-order this album, man. We have an opportunity to take control of the narrative. We have an opportunity to make a difference so that we can support artists who are working really, really hard to make good music, to make great art that will make a difference. Bro, look, it's been such a blessing to me to be on this journey with you, man. I'm so excited for this album to drop, for people to get an opportunity to hear it, and I'm looking forward to the change that I believe that this album will make. And then just to continue to watch what's next for you, as you continue on this path, man. So big ups, man, and thank you so much for jumping back on the podcast, man. Truly appreciate that.
I appreciate it. I've been trying to get here for a while, but a lot of pushbacks didn't make it. It didn't make sense yet because I wasn't ready to drop the album. So
no doubt.
I'm glad it makes sense now.
That's what's up. My guy, Brookfield Duece. Check him out all over social media. Go cop that album, America's Orphans. The pre-order is up right now. Wherever you listen to your music, man, definitely go and check that out. And Portland, get ready, because we got some other things in the works that we're gonna be announcing really, really soon. So Thanks again, brother. I appreciate you, Cat.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Absolutely. Once again, man, want to give a shout out to everybody who supports the Klyph Notes podcast, man. Big ups to our folk over at Acapella Apparel. Once again, check them out at akepele.com. Big ups to X-Ray FM for their consistent support of the Klyph Notes podcast. Shout out to the folk who support the DJ Klyph Productions movement, including Mike Check, and that's going to be shouting out Cascade Record Pressing and Ear Trumpet Labs. Be sure to support the supporters, man. And last but not least, big ups to my guy Theory Has It for doing the official theme song for the Klyph Notes podcast. Remember, you can check out the podcast everywhere you listen to your podcast: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you do. And if you check us out on Apple Podcasts, please be sure to rate and respond and give us that 5-star review, man. It goes a long way in helping us do what we're trying to do. And if you rock with Alexa, just ask Alexa to enable the Klyph Notes podcast. If you have comments or questions, you can hit us up at klyphnotes@gmail.com. That's KLYPHE notes@gmail.com. All right, y'all. Until we have an opportunity to do this again, big ups to my guy, Brookfield Duece. We out. Peace.